Alright.
All the order?
Alright, Hawken,
Yes.
Charles, Stoffel. Yes. Moreno.
Yes.
Vargas.
Yes.
We have a form.
All right, a motion to approve the agenda. Make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
At this time, we said, any visitors not already, okay. This is the time when community members can make public comments to the board. Please be aware that board cannot comment on anything that is said during this time. This is the only time on the agenda reserved for open comment. Please limit to 4 minutes. Is there anyone here? Okay. All right, on to central administration.
No fundraising requests or overnight trips, so on to the end.
Holy cow, that went fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, you weren't kidding. Don't show up late.
I know someone just pulled in, so if they had something to say.
Well, I'll stand down if needed. I've met a few of you, but not all of you. I'm Roger Warren with OPN. We're out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa City. Brady, you'll meet here in a second, but. Well,
No.
okay. So Sean asked that we come to the meeting tonight mainly just to address any questions that you might have on our contract or form of agreement that we've got with you. I can certainly walk through key components of it. I don't know that you'd want to go through every page of it, but it's pretty basic format of agreement. It's just the standard language that's pretty common between owners and architects, but specifically to the K-12 world. It's the language that I've been using basically my entire career, other than when they update to new issuances of it, but very straightforward. I guess the process of it though is we're in agreement with you. We'll provide design services that start with conceptual planning, move through the phases of design, which is schematic design. That's where we start to pull together floor plans that everybody gets in agreement with, at least in general concept, schematic design. That gets us enough information that we can start to build our building system. So it's the structure, it's the mechanical, electrical. That's when we can start pulling together our first round of cost estimates. As we wrap up the schematic design phase, then we move to design development. That's far more developed, lot more detail, more advanced structure, the systems, everything that goes into it. And that's when we're asking you for more input specific to what goes into the design, whether it's types of ceilings, flooring, you know, whatever you can see in a room is what we need you to be a part of. And then when we move into the construction development phase, which is essentially the last part of developing the documents, that's where we're building the documents that are going out for bid to a contractor. It's kind of the cookbook, if you will, of this is how it needs to be with the plans and specifications. After we're done with the construction drawings, and I should back up a little bit, we'll do an estimate at schematic design phase, an estimate at design development phase, and then an estimate at the construction design, construction document phase. And the purpose of that is to make sure we're aligning our design efforts with your budget all the way through, so we're not going off in different directions and get caught with a surprise on bid day. So once the construction drawings are done, we go out for bid. We'll take bids from multiple contractors and we'll accept the lowest responsible bid on bid day to move forward with entering into a contract between the school and contractor to build it. And then we'll move into construction, which we anticipate being roughly 12 to 15 months for this job. So that's kind of the phases of design, phases of delivery. Do you have any questions on any part of that? Oh, okay. Then throughout construction, Sean and I talked about this. We'll be on site regular, not every single day as the construction administration side, but we'll keep our finger on the pulse of the project all the time. By the time we get it, you know, a few months into construction, we're pretty proud of the fact that we know the contractors by name and the subs by name. And that just helps build a relationship with those folks during construction and makes a lot of the conversations better and makes the hard conversations even a little bit better, because there's always some of those during the course of the project. That's kind of the brunt of it at a very high level. If you have any questions, I'm happy to address any of them.
Yeah, I have a comment. I know that we participated in some of the meetings and I'm impressed by the input from our staff. Because they know a lot about these kinds of things and they're working very well with you. So I think that's great. The only other one is, I'm on the board for this Muscatine County Energy District and they had a presentation about relationships with kind of the possibilities of like solar panels or other energy efficient HVAC and the grants that were available, hopefully still are, I'm not sure. I asked if you guys would look at it, and I think you did. If you could just share a little bit about what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Brady more informed on that. He's been following up with our engineers as well. But definitely an option. Brady Dorman for your group.
Thanks, Roger. Yeah, so at this point in the game, we've reached out to our mechanical, electrical engineer and discussed this with them. They're looking into kind of some existing projects they've worked on with solar. It is something that that some schools explore. We find that a lot of smaller districts may not have the upfront funding available for that, but it's certainly something that we can run those preliminary models to see if it's feasible, even technically, you know, with the angles and the amount of roof area, and then kind of move on from there to sort of evaluate the economic side of it.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just we want to understand what's the first cost to go into it if you were to move ahead with it. And then what's the delta of that first cost versus the impact to your overall construction budget of where you want to spend your money. And then, of course, payback, that's huge. And then the incentives that you mentioned. So we run multiple models of what are the options. And if solar is one of those options we model, we'll look at that. That's what Trevor and his gang will do.
And the HVAC is like heat pumps and that, or that's probably part of it too, right?
Yeah,
That you'll
yes.
be
Yeah.
installing or looking at.
Yeah, we take every option possible to lower the energy costs. Our company as a whole is big into sustainability approaches. We actually just had our first net zero building last year, which is pretty darn cool to say that. Wish my house was. You know, that's just the trend, I think, of the building industry is how do we become more responsible in energy savings and reduce the amount of energy that we consume. It's huge.
All right, very good.
I think the last thing we wanted to touch on was the schedule. Want to do that quick?
Yeah. So right now we're kind of nearing the end of our scope development phase. So that's kind of that bluish gray line at the top. We kicked off the project at the beginning of December. We've had I think 3 or 4 meetings with our steering committee. We've initially worked on kind of going through the program, which is essentially the different spaces and functions of the building. Discussing that with the committee, kind of ascertaining what those spaces need to be, what the priorities are, and then also looking at that in regard to preliminary costs. At this point, we don't have any kind of hard cost estimates, but just using sort of a ballpark cost per square foot analysis, kind of seeing, you know, the amount of spaces we have, kind of where we are with the current budget. So that's in the process of being refined. We're working on test fits for like plans, kind of seeing how spaces lay out, what spaces make sense to be next to each other, and then again, kind of how that fits on the site. At this point, we're also working on investigating and documenting existing site conditions. So our civil engineer is working on the site survey. That's just a process of documenting the existing utilities, different site features that that'll impact the design of the project. So in a couple weeks, we should be ready to move into schematic design. As Roger mentioned, that's kind of the phase where we really get that initial floor plan pretty solidified, and then able to move into kind of design development where we get into more of the details. And then at this point, we anticipate being able to go out to bid around September, so the tail end of summer, and then with about a 5-week bidding period, and that could vary a little bit depending on your specific deadlines with board approvals and things like that, but anticipating being able to break ground in about mid-October.
Yeah, ideally, we want to have concrete in and done before we get into deep freeze weather, so we can just start going straight up. This building's suited perfectly for going in. If you have to go into winter doing construction, this type of construction looks pretty good.
Sean, will there be board approval on each one of these steps, or is it like just the bid, where we just do the bid?
Yes, this phase, and then, yeah, the bid, and we have any change orders, obviously. What else?
I don't know.
That'd be about, I'm sorry.
We'll bring like the design to the board, like the schematic design once that's
Yeah.
out there and
That
like
will need
the
approval.
cost
They'll just
estimate.
be updates and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, that, every one of those steps, where I was saying, we want to make sure the design is aligned with your budget. We want to keep you dialed into that, just so we know we're all moving homogeneous.
I think just to kind of refresh on the scope of this, I'll just read this. It's a new freestanding activity center. That'll include batting, turf, golf, weights, aerobics, classrooms, locker rooms, restrooms, offices, and a running track, and other miscellaneous spaces as required. So that's the contract.
Yeah.
Scope.
Any other questions? Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We're good?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're good.
So we do we'll need approval of the contract, so. Do I read that part, or whoever makes the motion?
I move for approval of the contract with OPM.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
Next thing.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
It looks very deep in thought. I was gonna wait. Hi, good evening. You all know who I am. I have the 3 counselors with us from the high school. We have Andrea Schulteis, Sarah Schnepper, who's our college and career transition counselor that we share with Wilton and Muscatine, and then Steph Ramsey. And what we wanted to review with you tonight is the DCAP, which stands for District Career and Academic Plan. And so we just have some slides that we'll go through, but feel free to stop us whenever. There are also all kinds of links embedded there. We're not going to open all those links, but we will open some of them. So on this first slide, the actual plan from the 2023-2024 school year is linked there. And the state gave us kind of an outline of what we should review with you all. So that's kind of the format we're using. When we look at the goals of the plan itself, we included the district level goals, which are increasing attendance, creating a safe environment for students, ensuring that all students receive high level literacy, and then finally designing and implementing multi-tier system of supports, as well as ensuring that our district and building leadership teams are high functioning. Besides those district goals, then there are goals for each of the components of the DCAP, and those are included there on the left. So each section has a goal. There's a section on 4-year planning, on work-based learning, on what's called essential components, FAFSA advisement, and then district plan integration. And so this is the 23-24 was the first year with this actual framework for the DCAP, and it was the first year that there was a rubric that reviewed the program at a local level and then again at the state level. So So we're gonna start with celebrations, and these are kind of some of the areas that we're going to celebrate, and we're gonna let others lead that. So we'll start with AmeriCorps student leaders and Sarah.
So this is just an example of a couple of our AmeriCorps leaders that we've had. We had these two last year. And the whole point of AmeriCorps and that program is to basically be a peer advisor. So helping with all post-secondary planning, whether it be finding a job, filling out resumes, scholarships, applying, getting your FAFSA, all of that. So Celeste is one this year and she's wonderful. So it's just kind of that middle person that some students are just more comfortable asking their peers than they are coming to the advisors, or they don't know what to ask. So we highlighted these two because they did an amazing job last year, and just looking at what they accomplished as being a peer advisor to where they are now in the middle of their first year of college. So Deani was a leader. She completed 33 college credits through MCC during her time. She secured an internship with Mid-American Energy over the summer last year. Earned a full scholarship to Simpson, where she's still at right now. And then she has secured the internship again for her second year with Mid-American Energy. So just kind of like, I guess, I don't know that there's a direct correlation to it, but we like to think that like we help them to kind of hone these leadership skills. And then Jesse, I spoke with him the other day. He earned 6 college credits from MCC while he was in high school, and then he went on to Iowa State University, where he is majoring in computer engineering. And right now he's in the process of interviewing for an internship with Collins Aerospace for software engineering. So both of them are doing amazing things out there, and we're just really proud of them that they did that. Next one. I'm here for a while.
No, this is me. Senior day.
A quick question. So
Yeah.
we saw what Deani did. What was Jesse, his AmeriCorps project or?
They both did the same thing.
Oh,
So
did I-
they're both peer advisors. So a school the size of West Liberty, it's just kind of efficient to have 2 of them. And especially we've got kids that come in late, leave early here, and that, so schedules kind of line up, but it works with the population to have 2 of them. So like this year we have 2 again.
I think what they do in the school year, they help with like FAFSA night and parent night, and they help with, like they'll have office hours, where students can come in and they help them look up scholarships, like they sit like in a room and someone like, I would like to go to Iowa State, and so they look up like what they can do, and or they text their mom. What can so-and-so do? So I'm just saying, yeah, that, I mean, they have office hours.
Yeah, that's what they text the parents out.
Yeah.
American
Yeah.
internship, Yeah.
Yeah, the internship she did on her own, but during the day, the students are available for peer support. So if the student feels more comfortable going to them about their dreams and like, this is what I'm thinking about majoring, they can work together to look those up.
And while they're,
They can work on it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and while they're in their AmeriCorps year, they earn a monthly stipend it's not huge, it's a couple $100s a month, I think. But then they also earn, if they complete all the hours for it, which is 300 hours over the course of the year, then they get an education award, because AmeriCorps is a federal program that helps provide education awards if you complete. So this is just one type of AmeriCorps program that's available to high school students that we found through Iowa College Aid and have had it. This is our 6th, I think, year having it at West Liberty. So it's like great for the students that get the student leader position, because they get it's like a part-time job where they're just helping their peers, and they get a scholarship at the end of it and all this leadership training. And then they're also serving their peers with their time. So just giving all around. Yeah.
I think it's a great effort. I mean, I was really happy when it was given it, because I feel like it kind of gives them leadership, and then they also learn how to do the FAFSA, and they learn how to do everything to then help others, and so it gives them like that hands-on experience that they need.
Another celebration we wanted to share is Senior Day. So this is an event that was actually Steph's idea, where we were trying to encourage all seniors to plan and work on their plan for life after high school during the school day in a way that involves all of them and is fun. Because a lot of the post-secondary steps are, I mean, they are what they are. They're not fun. And a lot of kids are doing that stuff at home with their families, and that's great. But there are also a lot of kids that don't do that stuff at home with their families, and it's not because their families don't support it or want them to, but they just maybe don't. And we do have a lot of great resources at West Liberty for our first generation students and anybody who's seeking college that doesn't maybe have another place to look for support. But we find that having something that's during the school day that doesn't require any kind of program involvement outside of school just kind of catches a few more kids. So we used to have college application day, and that was something where students could opt in to come to the library during the school day, work on college applications, and we would bring in any college reps that wanted to be there that day to kind of help with their applications. And it did really help boost the number of college applications to have that like dedicated time during the school day, but we still only had about half of the senior class opting into it. And so we were trying to think of like, how can we get everybody there just so that if that's something, because a lot of times they might not realize they need to fill out a college application for what their plan is, because they think that what they're doing is in college. But it's like, well, if you are gonna go take welding classes, like you're gonna have to apply to MCC, or you think you're gonna go into get your prereqs done for a plumbing apprenticeship at Kirkwood, that you have to apply to Kirkwood to get that. So we found that getting all of them there helped with that goal. So now we have nearly 100%, like whoever's there that day comes. We go out to fairgrounds, and then we do a mix of sort of the boring stuff and then fun stuff. So like this year we had a bounce house. It's kind of a breakout session, like workshop format. So they go to different sessions, and one session is like the bounce house, and one session is working on applications, and one session is learning about financial aid, and the fourth session is oh yes, getting started on their FAFSA. So creating their federal student aid accounts. So that's what we do at senior day. I put together a little bit of information about the one from last year, since we're reporting on last year's DCAP. So last year we had 85 of the 90 seniors attend. Of the ones who responded to the survey, at least like over half of them created their FSA ID during senior day. And then you can look, if you scroll down the dock a little bit, like how they were feeling about paying for college at the beginning of the day. The higher the number, the more anxious they were. And then at the end, after senior day, like reduced their anxiety about paying for college. You know, like the more information you have, we have lots of resources for helping pay for college. So that's just one example of the impact that day had, and it honestly is just fun. So, and especially after the COVID years, we felt like the groups of kids just hadn't had as many opportunities to all get together as a class and do things that bonded them to each other. And that can really help with completing post-secondary steps too, because like our AmeriCorps student leaders demonstrate, peer support is a huge element of finding a good fit and then getting the steps done that you need. So they're asking each other, they're involved in what the other kids are doing in their class. So they help each other a lot. So yeah, senior day. Sarah,
I like
Can I
that one
just
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was out there in that bouncy house and
Yes.
a lot of
It's so
activity.
fun. It's like little
I know,
kids.
it's like our kids did Chuck E. Cheese and like Dave and Buster's, right?
Yeah.
It's like they just keep going.
Uh-huh.
And it was really good. And we were doing a little bit of voter registration, and some
Mhm.
kids registered to vote. So it was
Mhm.
it was a good event.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
can see it.
I really like that one too.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys brought it on, and yeah.
And we always make sure that we have things representing all different kinds of pathways for after high school. So I said college applications quite a lot, and we do track them, and it is important, and it's a marker, and it helps kids keep their options open. But we also had like our work-based learning coordinator there, and she was talking with kids about registered apprenticeships and going directly into the workforce in ways. We just wanted all of them to have successful transition after high school. And so collectively as a class addressing it that way also, I think, helps include kids that aren't sure, which is the vast majority of them. And we just don't want them to count themselves out, that like, if they think college isn't available to them, but what they have planned is going to require additional training, then that is for them. And they don't have to do it right after high school, but they at least need to like know what the steps are and feel part of their class that planning, so yeah. It's a fun day.
Very good.
Next year, I'm doing the bounce house.
Yeah.
I've had the FAFSA talk the last 2 years. Not the fun part. So another celebration is the amount of college credits in high school, and this is just, we have the little asterisk down there. This is just credits listed are MCC credits. So the students are able to take some classes through some other means, like the AP classes, they get college credit. I do believe there is another one through like UNI, the class that they take. So, and then if MCC wouldn't have something they're interested in, then they can look at Kirkwood too. So this is just MCC credits, but it's again celebrating and showcasing last year's class and what they did. Typically, the semester credit requirement or like the norm for full-time is about 15 credit hours. So you can see we pulled these 5 students and all of them had pretty much at least 1 semester of college completed. A couple of them had over a year or close to a year of college done by the time they graduated high school. And then we just listed a couple of them went to a public university. Another one on there with a pretty hefty credit tally there had an academy for a trade program. So they actually did the welding program at MCC. And so they earned those credits as well as some other, just taking some online classes with that, and then went on to attend the 2-year for a technical program after that. So they were pretty much done with it when they entered into it. We had another one do 12 credits and then went on to a 4-year private university, and then student E ended up with 43 credits. And is attending a 4-year public university. And we just got word today, actually, Andrea got a letter today that this student was invited to be part of the media.
On the media team
The
for
media
Iowa
team.
State's fashion
Yeah.
show, which is a really big event put on by ISU and their awesome fashion and design program. And so,
Yeah, as a first year coming in and being offered to do that as part of that, that's kind of huge. So, in total, just looking at the graduating seniors from 2024, they earned collectively 644 credits from MCC in the 4 years that they were in high school, which is a lot of dollars saved for the parents in the room. But it's amazing to see how much they can get done, and it helps kind of with that transition into their next steps in life.
It's great. Most start junior year, correct? Junior, senior year.
Yep.
Do we have any sophomores that?
We do allow sophomores who are part of the talented and gifted program, so if they are tag kids, they're allowed to start. There are minimum GPAs that they need to be able to enroll in a course, and for some of them, for some of the courses, there are minimum, you have to be proficient on the ISASC in those different areas to be able to take courses in those areas, so.
There's also some, they're sophomore going into junior, but they do the free courses over the summer. And so like the CNA is a big one that I get a lot of students go into. And they get that completely free from MCC over the summer, and they are going in and starting out making like $19 an hour at a nursing home. So it's pretty amazing what's out there for the kids.
The top ones are primarily like core kind of curriculum, and then you've got the little asterisk on the bottom, right, with the AP. So that's in addition to the. Got it.
Yep, not all students take AP courses, but those that do, then those, depending on which college they end up going to, they will cover some of those classes and have even more credit going on.
AP credit ones are a little harder to tally, just because it's so dependent on what score they get and what college they go to, as far as like how many college credits they earn. Like we can track how many students participate and get a passing score on the AP exam, but this one is just.
At University of Iowa, it's gonna be a different class than Iowa State, and so.
Yeah, a little more complicated to calculate
I
the
know.
credit on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about Zello, which is our program for sort of planning college and career, all these steps during high school and after. So in order to get all these college credits, we try to set them up with a plan. We start in 8th grade working on their 4-year plans and talking about their end in mind, and that we have what we think is a college class for everyone. So regardless of what that looks like. So Zello is the online computer system that students can log into and complete their lessons that are required for the DCAP as well.
I don't know, we used to use a program a long time ago called I Have a Plan Iowa, if you've ever heard of that. That's kind of, Zello is sort of doing the same thing, but in a different way. And so, each grade level has about 9 lessons to complete each year. We do it in advisement period, which is our, kind of like our homeroom that's once a week. And then, we can pull a report at the end, to share with the state. One of the kind of new things that we're developing this year is sharing that out to parents. So they'll be getting emails so that they can log in and see their students' progress. We just started Zello last year, so last year it was kind of getting it going, getting the kids and the teachers used to it, learning how to use it, and now this year we're going to continue developing the 4-year plan. So we just started it this week with 8th graders, and it was a really smooth. Some, still learning little hiccups, but otherwise it was a lot more efficient than our older process on paper. And so anyways, yes, we'll get that out to parents, and then they'll be able to see all the students' choices and progress and what they're doing, as well as explore their own demo account. So parents can take the same skills and interest inventories that their students are taking, just to kind of see it and explore, and kind of like a bonus, like free opportunity in case you're considering a new career. And then one of the other things that's really nice about it is that students save their career, or they choose their top 3 to 5 careers that they want to pursue. And then when we have opportunities through our work-based learning or through MCC, different work-based trips or college visits, then we can pull a list of there's a pilot event. So we can search through Zello to see who saved those careers and find those students and seek them out. And they can also connect it with their Common App when they're making applications. They can connect to the scholarships and explore careers in colleges. And it's just it's cool. It's an endless spiral in a good way of college and career information that we're still just learning to use in different ways, but that is our Zello.
I don't
Questions
suppose
on
it's
that?
connected at all to Infinite Campus, or it has to be different?
They
or-
do communicate. They
Okay,
can,
they do communicate.
yes, yeah, thankfully they do. So the logging in is really easy. We don't have to worry about passwords and all that. And then it's just the bane of, previous existence, but, logging in is really easy, and then their transcripts are sent over. So their 4-year plans are automatically updated with classes completed. So
Okay.
that's nice. And then they're just picking out classes for the future. Then once they're complete, it'll reload and has other requirements in there in classes.
I didn't get a chance to hit all the links. Can you go back and just hit the here, there? Is that a link, right? I'm
Yep.
just curious. That'll tell us a whole lot more about it.
Yeah, this isn't the website itself. This is the scope of lessons. So those are the lessons that each grade level is doing. And before they even do these lessons, they do something called the matchmaker, where it's kind of an interest inventory, and it matches them with different careers. It says, based on how you answer these questions, we think you might make a good park ranger or a fashion designer or counselor. Exactly. Yes. And then they save those, and then they do a skill set, and then they can work through these 9 lessons kind of at their own pace.
And it's a really nice back and forth of taking the information from their interest surveys and some of the things that they enter in to say hey, we think you might like this, but then student choice still is a huge component of it, because they can look at the top 10 matches and be like, I don't want any of those. And then they can just keep scrolling down and click the ones they want. So they might not always know what's a great fit for them when they're in 8th grade, but at least they're invested in it because they care, and then it might be the wake up call for some of them. It's oh, what if I want to be a nurse? I have to do good in biology. Okay, fine. So yeah, we find it's a good balance between recommendations based on information that they give and then what they want.
The planning side of it too. I've worked at a previous school that implemented it. And so what I found was the most useful, I guess, in my role that I'm in, is it will also eventually lay out. So if they do end up matching with a nursing position, it will take the classes I don't know that you're there yet, but it'll take the classes and lay them out, like, this is what you need in high school. And then you need these in order to transition to college, because these are the prereqs for that. And so it like builds that whole plan. And it really is that pathway, so they can see, these are my steps, this is what I have to do if I'm gonna follow this. And it's, I mean, kids today are such visual learners, and they have to see it all out, and it just, it's amazing when it just puts it all together like that.
Another question? Thank you. I'm not gonna talk nearly as long as they do. That's not my work. So kind of the process of the DCAP, once we submitted it last year, then Muscatine was our peer review school, so they reviewed ours and we reviewed theirs. And then eventually it was submitted to the state last spring. If you click that rating, that's our overall rating. And so, oh, sorry. The boardroom display needs access.
Did you do it with me?
I did. I'm pretty sure I gave you access. I would always give you access.
Sure.
Essentially, we did well. We received all 3s and 2s, 3 being the best and 2 being there's room to grow, except for the first area, which was a 0, and that was sharing the DCAP with the school board. So we're gonna get a 3 this year in that, just saying. So and so then also when Muscatine reviewed it, they gave us some feedback in the different areas, and sort of a theme that ran, you don't have to find it because I just have it memorized anyway. The theme that ran through there was more student reflection when you did work-based learning activities, or when you went on whatever that may be, field trip, college visit, that sort of thing. And so if you can go ahead to the next slide. See, I told you I'm fast. So that's one thing that we have included for this year's upcoming DCAP right here. If you want to click one of those, either the HNI or the WVL. The HNI, so we took a field trip to HNI in Muscatine. Elise Spicey took a group of students to tour the facility. We have a registered apprenticeship with HNI and Muscatine Community College. And so this is just a sample of that reflection. It's the questions that we asked them to fill out after they were done with the field trip. And it's just one more piece of evidence that shows what we're doing in our DCAP plan, but it's also a piece of evidence that then we can keep and put with the students' Zello, you know, just to kind of refine what they're looking at for choices. And so the student reflections, like I said, then the HNI was one. There's a work-based learning one that's a little more generic, but similar to HNI, that then Christina Anderson does with kids anytime she takes them places, but also when teachers take kids on field trips. So when Meredith Shantz takes IJAG kids, then that's a reflection she'll have them fill out. So it's just another sort of artifact that we're collecting information to know whether, yeah, that was a good field trip. Kids got a lot out of it. We should consider doing it again, sort of thing. As well as gathering some teachers, having students reflect on if there's a guest speaker and what they got out of that guest speaker. And again, a lot of that happens in IJAG, but also in a lot of our CTE classes, and some other classes too. And then this was just a piece that they wanted to make sure we let you know what data we were looking at when we consider modifying and revising our DCAP. So these are the big pieces. We look obviously at the DCAP rubric, our post-secondary enrollment, our attendance and credits earned data. So attendance in college and credits earned in, or excuse me, attendance in high school, as well as credits earned in high school. So kind of that on track and at risk piece that we have. And then the other big change for this year's DCAP is a new definition of work-based learning, which will come in a few slides here, but they really separated work-based learning. What do they call it?
Career exploration and based learning being distinct from each other.
Yeah,
Instead of
so
them
there's
all
two
kind of
parts
being
of
lumped into work-based learning. Yeah.
I have the actual, let me see. It's, yeah, it is the last slide. They've divided it into two parts. It's now called the I don't know, because I can't read this, it's too little, hold on. No, still can't read it.
Career
There we go.
in the workplace.
Career connected learning, and so it's divided into two parts, one being career exploration and one being work-based learning. So in last year's DCAP, anything that we did that was sort of out and about, so a field trip to HNI or going to the University of Iowa to explore public health, that was all sort of considered work-based learning, where now they've redefined that. And it's either career exploration or work-based learning. So that career exploration would be those field trips that we take, where your work-based learning is more your apprenticeships, your internships, your job shadows. So actually being more physically in the workplace environment and either observing or interacting, so. Next, focus for the DCAP team. That's you, Sarah. That's me.
So Brenda and I and Elise Spicy went to the fall DCAP planning meeting in the Quad Cities. And you can click on this link. I will warn you, it is 70 slides that we sat through that day from the state of Iowa. And they talked all things that we've talked about in this meeting, but a big chunk of it was just seeing the difference in what was expected with the whole work-based learning change. So we sat at the table and talked a lot about where we were and versus where we're going and what we need to add to it. As well as Christina Anderson was there with us. She's our work-based learning coordinator at MCC. And then her director of work-based learning, Erica, was there with us as well. So we worked with both of them, reviewed the feedback and the new rubric, and kind of started setting our goals for what we wanted. One was being like really paying attention to making sure we get that feedback surveys from the students, really honing in on who we're bringing into the school to talk to students and what that can lead to next steps wise. So like something that comes up right now is we took the sophomore class down to demo day to MCC to see the career academies. So MCC is now implementing another day that we can bring those students back, and they'll get that in-depth look at the academy that they were interested in versus touring all of them. And then they will take them as well to like a business in Muscatine that actually utilizes that, so they could see the whole process of it laid out. I think before my time with MCC, they used to kind of have that facilitated, like once you did the academy, then they just filtered you into those kind of careers, but I think that's kind of been lost in the last few years, I guess, but they're looking to build that back. And so we looked at that as well and what we need to do on our end to make sure that we're prepping the students for that. So it all kind of ties together with the Zello and the college classes and like that.
This one me? Who is this one?
Yes, it's you.
Okay. So, as mentioned at the beginning, we try to integrate our DCAP in with district goals. So Brenda laid out the ways in which, and hopefully you've kind of seen it demonstrated throughout that what we're trying to do. And we, incorporate like literacy at different opportunities or reflection forms, or we are incorporating feelings of emotional safety and belonging connection by having senior day where everybody like all gets together. They kind of have fun and bond with each other as a way to help advance other educational and career goals. And then they just discussed the new definition for work-based learning, and how we've gone through different courses that are offered within the school that have facilitated career exploration and work-based learning, and kind of delineating those, and then making sure we're gathering needed artifacts to demonstrate our, because a lot of what we discussed in these plannings is that we're already doing a lot of these things and we just weren't documenting it very well. So the one thing that the DCAP process, as fun as 72 slides of like AEA training is, it really has helped us like do a better job of collecting the things that we're already doing and then making improvements on them to, align better with district goals and meet state requirements in a way that's like functional for our students. We also are, another way that's integrated into our district specifically is we connect it to our comprehensive school counseling plan. So that includes academic and career and personal social, but the DCAP more naturally aligns with our career and our academic components of the school counseling program. So one thing that we do try to do as part of that is collect data. We examine all the data that Brenda already mentioned, but then we also try to collect data in the ways that we're able to. So that link for senior day survey is just we send it to them after the fact to gather their feedback and to see, that's kind of where I got some of that data of like how they felt about it before, how they felt after, what things were working and not working for them. And it's really helpful for us in like subsequent planning years. And then staff already talked about the interest inventory results, so that we can use things that their participation in Zello helps improve our work as counselors, because then we're making sure that we're reaching students that we wouldn't otherwise know are interested in a career pathway. To get them, because like obviously we send out the emails to everybody and we post it all over the school and we announce it, but really it's targeted approaches that help get students to do things like go on a field trip for aviation. We're like, hey, we know you're interested in aviation and you didn't respond to this email. Do you want to go on? Or we know you applied to Iowa State and you're interested in engineering and here's an engineering scholarship and maybe you should meet with our AmeriCorps student leaders because they're working on the Iowa State like scholarship application this week, which by the way, they are. If you know anybody going to Iowa State, tell them to get that scholarship done this week. So yeah, those are just a few ways, I guess, that we have tried to take something that's a state requirement and personalize it and make it valuable within our district.
Okay. So just 2 more slides, then we're done, I promise. The last part that they really wanted to talk about was the stakeholder participation and benefits. And so we tried to list just some opportunities that we have with local businesses. And we say local businesses, that includes West Liberty, but that also includes Muscatine County. So some of these places you see are ones maybe that, are in Muscatine, the actual city. So, but work-based learning opportunities, obviously, I talked a little bit about those. IJAG and Merit Chance is a huge benefit to us and what she does with the students. They have all kinds of guest speakers that come in. What did they have last week?
Stenographer.
Yeah, stenographer. That's
Really cool.
interesting. So, as well as she takes students on field trips. I know she and Tana have one coming up next month, I think. Is it labor and delivery? Yes, they're going to labor and delivery. So that's kind of exciting, all kinds of opportunities. And again, the way we find those kids, as Andrea said, it's in announcements on a daily and it gets pushed out in emails, but we get the biggest bang for our buck by looking through the Zello and being like, okay, you should probably go on this field trip kind of thing. Can you work it out? That sort of thing. Christina Anderson's also a great help to us. We actually share her with 5 districts and Muscatine Community College. So she's only in our district usually 1 day a week, but she relies on the counselors and on Zello and makes connections with individual students in their career pathway sort of searches, as well as taking groups to all kinds of places. She has taken groups to HNI as well in previous years. She helps organize a trades fair, so she asks local businesses and they have representatives come in, and so that's held in our gym. Sarah helped organize the Academy Day for sophomores at MCC. We have all kinds of CTE teachers that take local tours. Elise Bicey takes her Ag 1 and Ag 2 students Ag Mech 1 and Ag Mech 2 students to Wurzbagger. Once a trimester, they go over there. So all kinds of local connections. Zach Morris has a field trip coming up here to West Liberty Foods. So just doing the best we can to make connections. But as I put down there, we're always interested in finding more connections. A new one this year is the Educators Rising, which we've talked a little bit about here. And that group of students is actually going to come present to you, but probably not until April, so they want to wait till after their local conference so they can come and tell you all kinds of things that they're doing there. And then just the last one. So we're in the process of revising our 24-25 plan. One of the biggest changes is the inclusion of more student reflection data and artifacts. The other one is just this new change with what is work-based learning and how it's divided into career exploration and working to learn. And so wanting to make sure we have that well-defined and have artifacts. There was a webinar in mid-January from the state on work-based learning that was recorded, and so I watched that. It's a lot to process. Started watching it twice, so I'll get through it eventually. We don't have to revise the DCAP plan on a new template. I don't know if you understand just how exciting that is, because every year when we go to the meeting in the fall, they're like, oh yeah, here's the new template. And we're like, great, let's cut and paste. But so same template, just new rubric. So that'd be another thing we have to dig through, but it'll follow the same kind of process in that Muscatine will peer review ours and we'll peer review theirs, and then it gets submitted to the state in early June. Questions?
I guess the link that Abby couldn't access, we will be able to access.
The DCAP rubric,
Yeah.
I will make sure that I give you all
Free.
permission.
Make sure we can see.
Yes.
The other thing is, I guess, just a possibility is,
Sorry.
I think it's important to go as young as you can with these kids to get their interest. And we're working on the science fair for elementary again this year. And so maybe looking at integrating that into this planning and having those connections. There'll be a lot of, there'll be a lot of University of Iowa College folks there that will have tables and stuff like SHIP, and I think that would be, just get us as early as we can. I think is really important. As kids are making their decisions early, like you said, you know, I know Dr. Carroll had students come to her dental office and they're like, I want to be a dentist. And then she told them, well, you know, you're going to have to do really good in math. You're going to have to do biology. And they're like, oh, and you're going to get straight A's, right? You better start right now. So they have it. So it's, I think, start early. Yeah.
For sure, that's part of the like comprehensive school counseling program that's K-12. It's like that career component doesn't just start at high school. That starts at kindergarten. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for, I think this is so cool. As somebody who changed their major 3 times in college, like this would have been so helpful, and with the exposure and opportunity, like really cool. So, thank you.
Also, I think we just set a record for the longest board meeting. Sorry about that.
We brought counselors.
we brought 3 counselors. I'm sorry.
Should only brought one, sorry.
We're anecdotal.
Brenda or Counselor, is anything changing with the work-based learning requirements for that position with this change to the careers connected to learning?
As far as Christina's position, or?
Yeah.
I don't believe so. I do think that, and maybe Sarah can answer more, but I do think that they did bring back Erica Ewert. So she was an intermediary that was employed through the state. And then they eliminated that role, but now they've brought it back. And so she's working with MCC specifically to do career exploration in the academies, I think is going to be her role. So I don't think it'll impact what Christina does for us, and I don't think it'll change that. I think they're actually at MCC anyway, adding sort of another layer of it.
Okay.
I do know that there is supposed to be, I don't think it's gonna start at MCC, but there is going to be a new advisor that they are creating that is specifically for the academies. And so it won't like take anything away from what I do, because I can still get the students enrolled and everything, but there's all of the backside of it. Like, that's great. You want to go to the welding academy, but do you have a welding helmet? Do you have the shields, the protective gear, you know, all the stuff that you need to actually do that? Or do I need to find it and make sure that you get it to where it needs to go? And so, you know, with 1 or 2, it's not so bad when you've got a couple schools and several students chasing them. So I think that position is going to fill in there. And then, like I said, I do believe they are going to then connect it to that back end too of, we're teaching you how to do this. Now let's show you where you do this and look what that looks like. So I think with Erica and then that other new position, that's where kind of it will come back to that, which I think is really exciting.
Yes. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
It's National Counselors Week this week.
Yeah,
Thank you, counselors.
yeah, we definitely scored with all you guys. Thank you.
For sure.
I laugh every day. That's all I know. Kids are funny.
Now we're going to the.
Yeah.
Sorry to talk so long.
No, you're good.
Great job, great job, thank
We
you.
like to learn about it.
Love it.
Crazy.
Just make sure.
We really want to hear.
No sarcasm,
And then-
not at all, is there?
This,
just like leave me out of this.
This second reading board policy, this is like a bunch of the ones where Kara's been working through to, delete duplicates and whatnot, and then including the updated wellness policy.
Here, make a motion. Who wants to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Can we do a discussion?
Oh, for this one, on the minutes? Okay, then
No, I'm sorry, I thought we were doing the policy. Never mind.
are we doing?
The second reading of the policies from
Yeah.
last week.
Got it.
Yeah,
Last.
Okay.
yeah, we're just doing the
Sure.
second one, yeah. And then we'll have the first. So this is just approval of the second reading.
Sure.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So then. The,
Next one is the
Mandatory,
mandatory
yeah.
board policy 103. Because that's a mandatory policy, it just has to have one review and approval.
right, so a motion for the mandatory board approval policy 103.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
I don't know if we're gonna have much discussion on it, but.
Hey, that's what I get from missing last week's meeting, so.
Well, this one mandatory one, we don't get to, it's just mandatory anyways, right?
It is mandatory, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, so all of those in favor? Aye. And now we get first reading of policies 1,000 to 1,003.
Yeah, these are just parts of our normal calendar review now.
And through Simile and ISB, they don't have 1,000 series. So this is the one area that we still, our policies are fine, but Kara's going to work just as we do policy review of slowly taking these 1,000 series and then working them into like the 100, 200, 300s, et cetera. So that within, by the time we're all done with this, every single policy then will be aligned. So that's why we still have our 1,000 series, but then like through ISB, you might notice they don't have any thousands.
So these will be, so if we approve these as when we approve them as a second reading, are we gonna have to approve them again to be eliminating them?
They'll stay in the thousands for now. And then once we, let's say we hit the 200s and one of these aligns in the 200s, Kara will then at that time move on.
And then we'll approve it at that.
Yes, yeah, correct.
So not necessarily saying they'll go away, they'll just get
To a
renumbered,
different
basically.
renumbered.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we'll move on to superintendent report.
Okay, let's start with accommodations. So Mr. Ryan, the elementary ELL team needs a huge shout out for running after school tutoring for some of our EL learners. Tutoring is focused on getting these students ready for the important ELPA test this month, and that just started today, I believe. We started our ELPA testing. So thank you EL teachers for going the extra mile to help our students be successful. This week is also National School Counselors Week. This from Kirk as well. So Mrs. Amy Butler and Ms. Carla Madrigal have been amazing additions to the elementary staff. They are kind, empathetic, positive, compassionate, and advocates for all of our students and staff through daily classroom and small group lessons, as well as one-to-one meetings. They've helped create a safe and supportive environment for everyone. Thank you. And I'll just add on top of that, I'd say all of that same stuff said about the elementary counselors. I would add to Mr. Hughes, Ms. Knott, Ms. Ramsey, Ms. Schulteis, and Ms. Schnepper as well. So we appreciate all of our counselors and everything that they do for our students and families. Also, I just want to say great job to Mr. Loria as we hosted the girls' conference wrestling meet last week, Friday. And then we had the boys' conference wrestling meet this past Saturday. So both events were very well run. And they brought in many fans and spectators from across our conference in West Louis. So great to bring those teams in and have those events here. And it's nice when they run well on top of it. So kudos to Mr. Loria for that. And then Brenda would just like to say thanks to Kennedy Amos for organizing the high school schedule of ELPA testing. So it's going on throughout the district here. And then also from the high school, a thank you to Jan Smith, the librarian, for promoting reading by making posters of staff with their books, reading to help model reading for the
That's cute.
students. And I don't have that picture to share, but there's posters, actual posters of different staff just in their environments reading books. So it's pretty cool, pretty neat way to promote reading and role model that for the high school students. Appreciate her and the staff for participating in that. And then legislative updates. There's a lot there, but just a few things. Several education bills are being introduced. We'll be paying close attention to. And one is always the SSA, which is our funding for the upcoming year. And then there's also 4 bills proposed that are related to the school start date. They said it's pretty hard to get that changed, but with 4 bills going through, I think 2 have actually moved on. We'll see if anything happens there. Right now, and most of these bills allow the ability to start sooner to the end of the state fair than August 23rd, which August 23rd right now is legally our first day that we can begin instruction. This year it falls on a Saturday, so we have to wait till the 25th. So it would be nice just to be able to back that up a little bit, and then we don't have to go as far into June. We'll see what comes of that. We're hoping for a bill to fully fund preschool. However, that bill is geared more towards an early childhood continuum of care grant program. So that program would provide 3-year grants for preschool providers and child care providers, partnering to provide an all-day continuum of care for preschool age children. Yeah, I won't read all of that, but I think it'll help provide some sort of funding through the child care system, but not necessarily fully funding our 4-year-old preschool program. But it's a step in the right direction. There's a bill to ban cell phone use during instructional time. And we currently have policies in place, especially in our middle school, high school, that already pretty much restrict students to be on their cell phones during instruction. So teachers have the autonomy to, in their classrooms, to prohibit that use, or if they can use them for instructional purposes, or if there's a special circumstance, special reason why a child may have their phone, they can do that as well. So we'll see what comes out from the wording from the legislation, but it sounds like it's going to be fairly similar to what we currently have. So I don't anticipate too much pain there. from any side, teachers or students, but we'll see. We'll see what comes out of that. They're looking to have a mandatory civics test. They're also looking to increase operational sharing to include supplementary weighting for positions of college and career transition counselor. And then also for mental health professionals, social workers, and school resource officers, which would not count as part of the 21 student cap for operational sharing. So that would be on top of 21 cap of that. So that's definitely a good thing. And then last, this is coming up on the board agenda, but I just want to give a big, huge thank you to Mrs. Vicki Vernon, the middle school principal, for her 21 years of service to the West Liberty Community School District. I think we all greatly appreciate her leadership and the work that she has done here in West Liberty for the students and staff. I'm sure there'll be more opportunities toward the end of the year to celebrate Mrs. Vernon's service to the West Liberty Community School District. I just wanted to acknowledge that as it is on the board agenda here coming up. So thank you, Mrs. Vernon. So,
Can I ask, can you just share a little more about the ALPA test?
yeah, you guys want to speak to that?
Sure, I can. So the ALPA is the English Language Proficiency Assessment. It's a state required exam for all students who qualify as, there I am, thanks me. Oh, thank you. So the ALPA is required for all students who qualify as English language learners, and there are 4 parts to the test: reading, writing, speaking, listening. It's scored 1 out of 5. They have to earn 4s on, at least 4s on all of the 3s and 4s on all 4 of those subtests to be able to exit from EL services. And so the window for testing opened this week and goes through actually end of March. But most of our buildings try and get that testing done, because obviously in April, then we have ISAS for grades 3 through 11. There's also the spring window for FAST. So, and then preschool has gold, and there's just all kinds of assessments coming up this spring. So we try to do the ALPA and get them when they're not examined out quite yet. So the students can take the listening portion kind of in a group setting. Same with the reading and the writing. The speaking is more of an individualized. They wear a headset that has a microphone, and they're asked questions and answered, and it's recorded. So all of our EL teachers and our instructional coaches are trained to administer the ALPA test. So yeah, it started in the elementary today and middle school this week and high school this week. So.
Are the kids who qualify, because I remember it's like if they have more than one language at their house, they will be tested, or have they changed that?
So when they register for school, there's a survey that's called the home language survey that's required again by the state. It's 3 questions. Those questions are: what language did your child first speak? What language do you most often speak? And well, what was the 3rd question? First speak.
How many languages are there?
No, it's nothing about that. It's just what language did your child first learn? What language is most often spoken in the home? And then there's a 3rd question that relates to that. And what we do is really look at the answers to that home language survey, but we also take into consideration, is it a student who has siblings that are already ELs? Is it, trying to understand who the family is more than, because you answered one question in a different language, then we're automatically testing you. We try to take that in just to kind of weigh it a little more. The ALPA screener is then administered to those students in kindergarten or in the spring of pre-kindergarten or preschool. And it's again a computer-based test. And so we know that, and the state knows that it overqualifies students for EL, because often they're 5 years old trying to answer all these questions on a computer. So, although they're probably more tech savvy than I am, if we're being real, right? Yeah, and so then once they qualify, then the ELPA formative, or the ELPA assessment is what they're taking, and that's a yearly test they have to take until they exit.
Did you know in the high school how many students are?
Yeah, so as a district, we're right at 26% EL population, and that would be K-12. At the high school, we have somewhere between 50 and 60 students, so. The bulk of our EL students are at the elementary, where I think we have, I want to say like 265, 275, so. The more they, we could talk about all kinds of things. What we do know is students who are English language learners who are in the dual language program exit from EL services earlier than students who are not in the dual language program, typically, statistically. And then we know that learning a second language takes a student to become truly proficient somewhere between 5 and 7 years. So we don't see a lot of exit from EL until 4th grade, 5th grade, and then on up. At the high school level, we have a lot of newcomers, and so we don't see as many exit as we would like to, but Kennedy Amos, who's the one that built our schedule at the high school, does a great job of tracking their growth in the different 4 subtests, and then really talks to the kids about that before they take it, as well as she shared all that data with the high school staff here at the last PD. So we can all see and recognize the kids and really encourage them, that kind of thing. So. Yeah. Sorry, I just added to the length of those meetings. That's fine.
Abby, are you giving me the look to see if I'm gonna quit talking?
Sorry.
Last is personnel, as Sean indicated, retirement from Vicki Vernon, middle school principal, district 504 intact coordinator. A big loss there. Resignation of a para and then a new hire of new para. So.
I think we're all echo the fact of losing Vicky, then, but we.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed working with her, but I'm happy she's
Principal and
retiring.
colleague.
Yes. So. All right, well, make a motion. Who wants to make a motion? I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, future items, next board meeting will be sorry, I saw the M. Monday, February 17th at 6, consent agenda, budget guarantee solution and resolution and second reading of the board policies. Can I have a motion to adjourn? And a second. Come on, Angie, you don't want a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?